G'day everyone, welcome to this week's Life on the Hulls. I'm still up in the Whitsundays having an absolutely amazing time. I'm here at Hill Inlet, which is it's the iconic Australian view. You see this on all the TV ads. Whitehaven Beach, reported to be the whitest sand in the world. I think we might have a challenge on that down in Jervis Bay, however, with our Holmes Beach. We certainly believe that is whiter, however, that looks pretty white. But yeah, what a stunner. What a stunner of a location. And the great thing is we've come up here late in the afternoon at about 3:30, 4 o'clock. All of the charter boats that come here every day are now gone, and we've got it to ourselves. So this week, guess what guys? Going to be putting in my large dual companionway. The prep work's done, the hard stuff's done, and it's going to be going in and basically going in and being tabbed in. A bit of a stinker of a job, so there's lots to come. Don't forget the composite shop, and check out that channel. Don't forget to subscribe and certainly make some comments on that. There's a lot of detailed fiberglassing in that, and don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel as well if you haven't already. Thanks for joining me, and let's get into it.
Doing it up here or down there?
Yeah, you get right on that corner there, mate. And as you come over, I'm just going to take the weight of it as it comes across. Slide to the edge. Hang on, just stop there for a sec. Yeah, keep going.
Ready?
Yep. Look at it get down on the floor, mate. Mate, I love you. Thank you.
Yeah.
That is finished. It's all done underneath, so I've had to... Wait. Thanks, mate. So hopefully this is the last time this is going in here. I've got a lot to do now. I'm going to have to jack it up and make sure that this fits perfectly. But as you can see here with all the pipe work that I've put in, it's all accessible outside of the module. Whatever's not accessible, I can't get to now. So, which is really only what's under the stairs here. I'll just take you down behind the actual module itself and just show you where I can access in behind there. And I intend to have a hatch in our shower recess for access to the external plumbing or the back of the actual shower unit and the head. So I'm in behind the actual module here, and you can see here where I've got access into my freshwater, blackwater through holes, but also to electrical conduits that are going to run across underneath the head here. So I've got really sensational access here. I think this has been quite well thought out. Pretty happy with the way this has all gone. I don't think there's going to be any issues here. In fact, I can still reach under here, as you can see, but everything's clear on that side. And if I turn around, also under here, everything's pretty much sitting primarily where it needs to be, with sensational access to a lot of this plumbing here through the bottom of the floor of the shower module and through a hatch in the actual shower itself. Now the other thing that's happened too, you can see here, this shelf here, I'm going to be able to glass this all in place, and what I'll do is I'll use composite angle once again to abut that shelf, and that'll actually tie in nicely to this module here. And then I'll also be able to glass this particular module straight down to the floor here. So there's a lot to be done now that this is in. It's going to be an integral part of the boat. The head will go in after it and slide gently over the top, I hope. So as a future project, I'm imagining that I'm going to be able to put an air conditioning conduit through here. I've got around about sort of probably 150 mil square there, so that's big enough for a conduit for ducting for aircon or anything else that I decide to put through there. I guess there's quite a substantial cavity through there. I do have that in my plan eventually, but certainly not initially. You can see here how this is still a bit high, but that needs to be trimmed. So I've got a little bit of work to do here before I can glass this guy in and remove some of these flanges that I've got here as well. Where to start? This large module is going to have some fairly detailed sections cut out of it, and that starts with these flanges here. These flanges are only ever there to form the strength for the moulding process. Ultimately they need to be removed, and I'm going to do them very carefully as I need to, and that's going to start over here. So up in this corner here, I need to trim off the flange firstly there to ensure that it's fitting in this corner, and then gradually go around this module and remove what's required so that I can ultimately fit it in place. I'm working on gluing this down in the next few days, so that's really going to be sort of paramount to get that part done and ensure that I get a good neat fit. Now I'm confident in the fitment of it here. I'm not overly happy with the way it's fitting here, so that's going to lead me to the area around the stairs here for the step to physically sit on. That's going to need to be trimmed back a little bit. It's just a little bit too thick, so I'm going to work on it incrementally, ultimately working on a solid fit of this module. It's pretty exciting because once this guy's in, I'm pretty much, you know, locking down this area for good. Okay, so we're trimming a little bit at a time to work it out. Just worked out another couple of the levels. This blue line that I've drawn here, I need to trim that because everything is relative to the chamfer panel now, and this bridge deck. The bridge deck is relatively level. We sort of set the mould up so it'll be square, but ultimately if I don't work off this as the baseline, and this is still the flat part of the bridge deck, if I was heading up the front there, it's starting to curve up. It's a totally different story, but this part is level, so it stands to reason that this needs to be level as well. So I'm trimming off any excesses. Now this is an excess, and the large dinette suite actually interfaces or intersects with this around about here. So if I cut this off, this is going to glue down to the cleat that I've put on the chamfer panel and get the rest of it all level. So I'm going very carefully, meticulously, because I don't have to make this stinker again, not for a long time anyway. It is so interesting how after cutting those flanges off, I've now got a perfect fit there. It's taken me bloody weeks to get this right. And those flanges were just sort of holding it, I think they were probably holding it square, but unfortunately it was also stopping it from going where it needs to be, given any other sort of irregularities that I may have had, you know, given that I've built this, oh, just stepping on here. But you know, that feels pretty bloody good. You can see down in here, this backs up against here, glues on there, and essentially then I can tab that bulkhead in down there. I can glass along here, I can glass along the base here, and I can also glass in behind the step and around, thereby sort of increasing the strength of the whole thing. And you know, down in here in the floor piece below me here, that's going to be glass from behind and then tab filled, and that's absolutely perfect, and that gives me my complete floor there to put a hatch in, and a bit of sort of tidying up down there with some flow coat, and it's done. So if I'm by just lifting it up, I can saw off that flange, but Jesus, the noise. Evil noise. Cut this flange out here. This is going to be an absolute bugger if I wanted to cut out here, but I'm making a lot of noise here today, and yeah, I'm not real popular today because this bloody tool that I'm using is an absolute weapon. It just slices through this stuff like butter, but it is loud. Friday frenzy here in the hulls, Friday arvo. Everything seems to culminate in the last 2 or 3 hours, and you just want to get stuff done so you can go away. I've got to get away for a couple of days. We're heading up sailing with my neighbour Jace. I went out sailing with him on Jervis Bay, heading up to Sydney Harbour for the weekend, so hanging out for that. Just mixed up a particularly nice brew of Techniglue here. I'm going to glue this module in, leave it for 2 days, let it really cure so I can come back in and start the endless tabbing of putting this thing in, bringing it around the base of the stairs here, but very excited to see this module going because this is the last time it's been handled and I'm pretty happy about that, so lots to do. So I've moved the module about a foot to the stern and it's given me access to all the areas I need to glue. I've got to put plenty of epoxy around these composite angles here and pretty much once it's in place I've got a couple of hours to act on it, and really very important that I get it in place correctly. I'm going to put in all number of clamps and screws and things just to hold it in place so that by Monday morning when I get back into work I'm ready to tab. So let's do it. So there's going to be epoxy on all of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 faces down here on right on the floor where the floor and the chine intersect, and also all the way along underneath the stairway. So I've got a fair bit to do here. I've got probably a good half an hour of gluing and then half an hour of clamping and screwing, and then I've got to walk away for a couple of days. So here we go. Alright, I'll be very careful that it doesn't touch. I'll just go and mix up that other bag and then I'm going to put it underneath the step. Pretty much that's it. That's all that needs to be done. Alright, so I need a fair amount of glue along this little ledge here. I'm going to try and really bulk it up because the more the better, to be honest. And remembering that this is going to be glassed in anyway, in any case. Oh, if only you guys knew what a shit that I go through to film. I just got bucket epoxy all over my camera, for Christ's sake. Mate, I'm not sitting on a boat in the Pacific having a good time here. Well, everybody else is freaking making shit loads. Okay, for the last time, I'm just going to leave this a bit. Oh, yuck. It's going to get a bit messy here for a second, but I'll be coming back and filling in. I'm just going to step gently here because I don't want to squash this down. A little bit more glue down in here. It's been about 1.5 years since I made this module, and to get this put in place now is a massive milestone. So here we go. I've got to actually lift and drag to make sure that I don't destroy all the glue and get it in place almost in one hit. Now I just need to get down here and drive it home. Okay, let's take a look. I've got quite a lot of squeeze out here where it's glued down, so I'm going to have to put some more underneath this area here and screw that down. That down there has actually been put in place perfectly, and so is over there. So now I'm going to make sure this module's against the wall, clamped in place, into this cabinet, clamped in place, pushed against the bottom there, clamped in place, and then I'm going to get some heavy weights, sit them down on top of here to make sure this is in place, and it's absolutely dead spot on how I wanted it. Oh, it's in. It is in. I'm just putting a few screws in just to hold it in place. And then the last part is along here. I've got quite a bit of excess epoxy here that clearly wasn't needed. So that's going to end up down under here. An hour later. It took a bit longer than I thought. Okay, I've got a few screws in there. I didn't need to clamp it. Luckily I've still got the flange down here, so I'm able to screw that to the bulkhead. Pretty much it's glued down in the back there, but I'm going to put some composite angle underneath here. Once that's all set on Monday, that'll all complete that and give it all strong bracing. And then I've weighed this down with a couple of temporary fencing weights and put a couple of screws in. Now the step's dead level, but the raised part isn't. It's actually about 5 mil high because the lounge suite, or the large saloon dinette that goes across here, actually intersects with that, so that's part of it. And down in here, it's pretty much spot on the line. It's about 1 centimetre higher down there, which is what I wanted, and it's now sitting in exactly the right place. I'm going to do some significant tabbing all the way around there on Monday morning. I'll have that tabbed in Monday afternoon. I can then think about cutting a door through here so that I don't have to go up and down that bloody chamfer panel anymore. I'll be able to go down the stairs and walk through there. Now you can see down in the floor here, this is going to have an access hatch in there to the rear section of my fuel tank and the breather. And here we'll have an access hatch into my 240 litre freshwater supply and that inspection hatch that's down in there. So plenty of access down inside this boat now. And I'm not going to cut those until well into the build because it's just going to make it too dangerous for trolling around down in there. But anyway, that's it. It's in, and I'm going home for the weekend. I'm going to go sailing tomorrow. We've just arrived Saturday morning. We're going out for the weekend with Mel and Jason from across the road. They've got a Lagoon 41 and it's a bit wet. We're a bit worried about this weekend, don't we?
Yeah, it's supposed to be a very wet weekend.
Yeah, we've got a carload of stuff here, heaps of food, heaps of beer, very important. So we're here on one of Western Sydney's harbours here. This is Abbotsford. It's a nice little spot, and right out here is Mel and Jason's Lagoon. Now Mel and Jason live in Jervis Bay with us, but they've got this up in Sydney Harbour for the last few months. They've got a mooring up here, and Sydney Harbour, we're going to try and show you a little bit of the harbour. It's absolutely stunning, this place, and hopefully get a bit of sailing in. But yeah, we're not happy with the weather at the moment, but it's going to turn out pretty good. I think we're going to have a cracker. But it's a bit wet right now. Jason's got the wet weather gear on. I don't know what we're intending to expect this weekend. It could turn a bit wild. We've got an East Coast low on its way tomorrow night, but I think we're going to be home by then. The plan's to be home, isn't it? By the time the East Coast low hits. But
I'll work for the government.
He's a government worker. I think we can trust him. Magic morning here this morning. Absolutely beautiful here. We're up in Hunters Hill area, which is up sort of probably about 5 miles in from the Harbour Bridge. Gladesville Bridge up here. So we're up in the Parramatta River area, and there's fast cats zooming back and forth in between the two CBDs here of Sydney. He's doing more than 20 knots, mate. He's screaming along.
He's lost momentum and he's picking it back up. So he's down in the stern.
Yeah. Fingers out of it though.
Just make sure everything cleans out, and I'll just give him instructions, go, stop, go.
How good's a power winch, Jan? That's the best $6 you ever spend. Yeah. Janet thought she was just going to push the button all the way to the top. Make her work for it. One of the hardest places to paddle a kayak in New South Wales is Sydney Harbour.
Oh mate, I've done the bridge to...
Oh, have you?
I've done the bridge to beach.
Yeah, that'll be a beast. Yeah.
It's 11 kilometres,
Yeah.
and the power line is under the harbour.
Yeah, that's hard paddling.
It's so rough.
So we're heading out under the, obviously under the harbour bridge. We've got the Opera House here. We're getting some maniacs in these stink boats tearing past us, and it's just the way it is. And this around the corner here is Circular Quay. This is where all the ferries leave from Sydney Harbour. So it's a fairly busy little spot. You got to know your rules around here. Bloody monolith of a thing, this thing, isn't it? So the stonework, the two uprights on each end, have nothing to do with the structure of this bridge. It's basically self-supporting. They're only there because it didn't look stable enough and everybody was paranoid it was going to collapse. So they put these big sandstone pillars on each end just to make it look like it was going to support itself. But it's a brisk wintry day in Sydney. Maximum's like 10 knot winds today, so we're not going to do a lot of sailing. We've got that up more as a sign of hope. But as we come further up the harbour, so you can see we've just come under the harbour bridge, and here we have the Opera House here, which is pretty much central Bennelong Point, right in the middle of Sydney Harbour here. And up in the distance here, there's a race. And there's a bit of sailing going on up here, so there is a bit of a breeze. It looks to me to be almost a bit hard to tell up on the bow here, but probably a bit northeasterly. And hopefully we're going to get a little bit of wind to get some sails on. So yeah, beautiful, beautiful. It's just Sydney Harbour is just a gem, and we love being out on the water out here. So we ended up having about, probably only about an hour of sailing, but it was really lovely sailing around the Sydney heads out here. There wasn't a lot of wind today, and we sort of knew that was happening. It's the sort of middle of the winter, and we get whoa, that's a big boat wash. It's like a metre of chop coming through at the moment. Yeah, look at it. Very bouncy. This massive stink boat just went tear-assing past us, and we've got about a metre of chop coming at us right now. But yeah, we're up in Balmoral. Now this area is in the Mossman area on the north shore of Sydney Harbour, and an absolutely stunning place, and what an anchorage. I mean, there's some pretty nice real estate behind me here. Some gorgeous waterfront houses and the like. But yeah, just here is the what we call the Spit, and it's actually a drawbridge, believe it or not, like a big drawbridge sit up. And if you want to sail up into the northern reaches of that area there, you need to basically wait for the bridge to open periodically. And it is a major commuter road in Sydney where about 200,000 cars a day are trying to get to work, and you got all these people like us that want to get up into there, so it can be a bit distracting for the motorists when they see us people like us in yachts going up and down and happen to open the drawbridge when they're all trying to get to work in a hurry. What a morning. Sun's out, it's gorgeous here, and we're going to go for breakfast in Mossman. It was Mel's idea.
Oh, my fault.
It's Mel's idea. We're going to go for breakfast out at the Spit, Middle Harbour Yacht Club. Can't wait. Teddy's coming.
Pretty civilised getting up at 7 o'clock.
I know, I couldn't believe it. I thought these guys would be up at 5. I woke up at 5 just to get up with you guys, and then you didn't.
No,
I've been laying in bed for ages.
You're snoring.
Yeah, just...
Some nice racing yachts here, aren't they? This is like a holiday, isn't it? This night out. Didn't realise we were getting a big holiday for the weekend. Fantastic. How clear's the water here? What a scene, eh? It's just Sydney Harbour's bustling, middle of winter, everyone's out desperate to get some action, I think, today. A little bit of wind, we're surrounded by the most amazing race. There's boats everywhere. It's like the COVID escape winter series. alright, Jan?
Yeah, fine.
Good weekend, eh?
Great.
Check out this storm brewing. Nothing ever goes to plan. I had a short week, only had 2 days of work this week. I'm going to zip up to Mum's, give her a hand again. And we have had 10 inches of rain in the last 36 hours and winds over 130 kilometres an hour. So it's like, I don't know, 60, 70 knot winds. Bit of carnage. Luckily, I've still got power in my factory. We've got no power at home, so I'm bringing phones up, laptops up, everything up to give them chargers, lights, all the works. And Jesus, what a putrid day this has been. I mean, my tent's just copping an absolute beating. We've had 120 km/h winds today. All of this has been sort of shredded. I'm going to have to do a bit of a day tomorrow or I'm going to lose the whole lot. The tent itself is okay. The front cover's just absolutely annihilated. So looks like I'm going to be doing a bit of work here. Copped a bit of a beating here last night. I've lost all of these. I found these all over the driveway this morning, so I've just had to repair them and put new shock cord on them. They're actually a shock cord ball tie, sail tie I guess you'd call it, but I have to re-thread all of these all the way over. I've hooked up some strings up there just to jury rig it for the night. The tent held. You can see it's copping a bit of a beating. It's putrid today. It's a bit of a mess. It needs to be tidied up because it's only going to do more damage if I don't get it all squared away again. Had so many things to do this week and I've done nothing. It shows you how a whole week can get blown by just, you know, weather, bushfires, floods, little things like that, you know, just frickin' hell. I've just spent the last 4 hours repairing this. I've got it to the point where it's secure. I don't want to take it, I don't want to fix it entirely because I know that in about 3 or 4 months I'm going to have to get rid of it so that I can possibly demold the hull. Don't get too excited though. Don't get too excited because anything could happen, and this year has certainly keep on throwing it at us, all of us worldwide, but you know, in particular right here, bushfires, floods, COVID, flood, and bushfires coming. So plenty more to look forward to for 2020. I'm sure we're not finished yet. So what I'll recommend to Matt and Jess on MJ Sailing, if they're gonna build a boat, make sure you've got somewhere secure. I luckily have my tent wedged in the corner between 2 factories, and I'm also got a great relationship with my landlord. If you're gonna have a relationship, make sure it's a long-term one. I've got a long lease here. We've had an agreement right from day one, and you know, ultimately that's the key, is having this really good relationship with your landlord and pay your rent and expect it to take 3 to 5 years longer than you thought it was going to. But this tent has been absolutely wonderful. It has its limitations, but you know, even in 10 inches of rain, I've got probably around about 3 or 4 litres of water in here in my bilges that I've now got to get rid of. Please, if you're going to build a boat, make sure you prepare. Think 3 to 4 years ahead. Think storms, cyclones, hurricanes, floods, fires. Think it all. If you don't, you're going to be mistaken when your beautiful project starts to get impacted, and the time taken to fix these issues is really starting to take its toll on us this year.